Crocodile may be the main villain of One Piece Season 3, but he definitely will not be the only name who leaves a mark on the Alabasta War. While Luffy prepares to face one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Zoro, Nami, and Sanji will also fight 3 powerful Baroque Works agents who will expose their biggest weaknesses. Mr. One will force Zoro to do something he has never been able to do before. Miss Doublefinger will drag Nami into her first real solo fight, and Bon Clay will use Sanji's biggest weakness against him before turning into one of the most surprising characters in the story. These are not ordinary side villains. They are 3 important rivals who will make sure the Straw Hats leave Alabasta much stronger than they were before. So now let's take a closer look at their powers, abilities, actors, and the big battles we will see in Season 3. First, let's start with the most colorful and unpredictable character among these 3, Bon Clay, also known as Mr. 2. Netflix has chosen Tony Award winner Cole Escola for this role. Honestly, this casting choice already shows what kind of Bon Clay Netflix wants to create. Cole Escola is an extremely theatrical, energetic, exaggerated performer who can pull all the attention the moment they step onto the stage. Bon Clay should definitely not feel like an ordinary character. When we first see him, we should not be able to understand whether we are looking at a funny character, a dangerous assassin, or someone who will later become one of the Straw Hats' most loyal friends. And the most interesting part is that Bon Clay carries all of these things at the same time. Bon Clay has the power of the main no mi, the clone fruit. Thanks to this power, he can perfectly copy the bodies and faces of people whose faces he touches. At first glance, this ability looks fun and comedic, but in the Alabasta story, which is built on political intrigue and issues of trust, it becomes incredibly dangerous. Bon Clay can infiltrate protected areas, take the identity of important people, turn friends against each other, and make innocent people look responsible for crimes they did not commit. In the original story, this power was an important part of the plan used to destroy the Alabasta people's trust in King Cobra. That is why Bon Clay is not only a powerful fighter standing in the Straw Hats' way. His ability is directly at the center of the conspiracy that drags Alabasta into civil war. Bon Clay's main opponent will be Sanji. What makes this fight so fun and special is that their fighting styles are quite similar to each other. Neither character uses weapons when fighting. While Sanji uses the black leg fighting style, Bon Clay has a special martial art called Okama Kenpo, built around ballet movements, spins, acrobatic kicks, and flexibility. That is why the fight becomes a clash between 2 fast fighters who get almost all of their power from their legs. Considering how much effort Taz Skylar has put into Sanji's fight choreography, this battle could become one of the fastest and most visually creative fights of Season 3. But Bon Clay discovers a perfect weakness he can use against Sanji: Nami. When Bon Clay takes on Nami's appearance, Sanji cannot attack him. Bon Clay then takes advantage of Sanji's hesitation and regains control of the fight. However, after a while, Sanji notices an important detail. When Bon Clay is in someone else's body, he cannot fully use his own powerful fighting techniques. When he wants to attack, he has to return to his real body, and Sanji takes advantage of exactly those moments. This fight does not suddenly give Sanji a new power. Instead, it teaches him to study his opponent's ability, discover the limits of a devil fruit, and turn those limits to his own advantage. So Sanji wins the fight not only with physical strength, but also with intelligence and observation. However, Bon Clay's real importance in the story appears after this fight is over. Unlike the other Baroque Works agents, Bon Clay begins to develop genuine respect and affection for the Straw Hats. This character, who first appears as an enemy, later turns into a friend and puts himself in danger so the Straw Hats can escape from Alabasta. The real reason fans love Bon Clay so much is this transformation. Season 3 first needs to make us laugh at Bon Clay, then make us fear his clone fruit, then make us watch his fight with Sanji with excitement, and finally make us truly connect with him because of the decision he makes. If Cole Escola can reflect all of these different sides correctly, Bon Clay could become not only one of the best villains of the season, but also one of the most beloved characters in the entire live-action series. Mr. One is the complete opposite of Bon Clay. While Bon Clay is loud, colorful, and theatrical, Mr. One is quiet, cold, and extremely ruthless. This character, whose real name is Daz Bonez, was a feared bounty hunter in the West Blue before joining Baroque Works. Crocodile did not choose him because of impressive speeches or an unusual personality. He chose Mr. One because he moves like a professional weapon. Netflix has chosen Awdo for this role. The actor may not be a familiar name for many viewers yet, but for Mr. One, what is needed more than a famous name is physical power, discipline, and the feeling of a silent threat. Mr. One has the power of the Supa no Mi, the dice fruit. This ability gives his body the properties of steel and allows him to turn almost every part of his body into a sharp blade. His arms, legs, fingers, and the edges of his body can transform into deadly weapons. This makes him a dangerous opponent at almost any distance. But the real problem is that his body is as strong as steel. Ordinary attacks cannot cut him, and hitting him directly can hurt the person launching the attack. Mr. One does not need to carry a sword, because he is a sword, armor, and a living weapon all at once. This ability makes him the perfect opponent for Zoro. Up to this point, Zoro has defeated strong swordsmen and survived many dangerous fights, but he has not yet reached the level where he can cut steel. Against Mr. One, this weakness becomes an obstacle he can no longer ignore. Zoro can land his attacks on his opponent, but his swords cannot cut Mr. One's steel body. In return, Mr. One can turn every part of his body into a blade that can wound Zoro. In the live-action series, maybe for the first time, Zoro will face an opponent he cannot defeat with his current strength. As the fight continues, Zoro is pushed to the edge of death and begins to perceive the world around him in a completely different way. He is no longer only trying to attack harder. He begins to feel the rhythm and presence of everything around him. In the story, this is described as hearing the breath of objects. Thanks to this understanding, Zoro feels the difference between what he wants to cut and what he does not want to cut, and he finally reaches the level where he can cut steel. Then he defeats Mr. One with an extremely precise one-sword attack. But the real victory here is not only the enemy being defeated. It is Zoro crossing a very important boundary on his path to becoming the world's greatest swordsman. That is why Mr. One cannot be shown as an ordinary supporting villain who can be easily wasted. He represents the wall separating Zoro from the next level of swordsmanship. Every failed attack from Zoro, every wound he takes, and the fact that Mr. One seems impossible to cut should prepare that huge breakthrough moment. Makanyu's sword scenes have already become one of the strongest parts of the live-action series. If the choreography, sound design, and emotional tension can properly deliver the importance of Zoro cutting steel for the first time, Mr. One could give us the best fight of Season 3 outside of Luffy's battles. Our third important enemy is Miss Doublefinger, whose real name is Zala. Netflix has chosen Daisyhead, whom we know from projects like Shadow and Bone and Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, for this role. Daisy's previous performances show why she fits this character, because she can look elegant and controlled while also feeling cold and dangerous at the same time. Miss Doublefinger should not feel like a wild monster or an ordinary background enemy. She is an extremely stylish, confident Baroque Works agent who is fully aware of how deadly she is. Miss Doublefinger has the power of the Toge Toge no Mi, the spike fruit. Thanks to this ability, she can grow sharp spikes from almost every part of her body. She can turn her fingers into needles, cover her body with spikes for defense, and create deadly weapons from her limbs. She can even use her powers to change her body and increase the physical impact of some of her attacks. Like Mr. One, her body itself is a weapon. That is why it makes a lot of sense for the two of them to work as partners within Baroque Works. Miss Doublefinger's opponent will be Nami, and this fight carries much more importance than an ordinary side battle. Nami is extremely smart, brave, and indispensable to the crew's journey, but she is not physically overwhelming like Luffy, Zoro, or Sanji. Against an opponent who can create blades and spikes from every part of her body, it does not seem possible for her to win through direct attacks. Miss Doublefinger is stronger, more experienced, and has a devil fruit designed for direct combat. On paper, even Nami's chances of surviving this fight are very low. This battle will also be the first fight where the Climattact, the weather weapon prepared for Nami by Usopp, is truly used. The funny part is that at first, Nami does not fully understand how the weapon works, because some of its features seem to have been designed more for simple party tricks than for battle. However, Nami is a navigator with extraordinary knowledge of temperature, pressure, wind, and atmospheric changes. As the fight continues, she begins to combine these features that first seem useless. She uses hot and cold air, creates mirages, and eventually produces a powerful electric attack. Nami's victory against Miss Doublefinger is important because it proves that she can turn her knowledge into real power. Nami does not suddenly become physically stronger than her opponent. Instead, she studies her weapon, adapts to it under deadly pressure, controls the atmosphere, and defeats an enemy much stronger than herself with her intelligence. This moment is the beginning of the unique fighting style Nami will use throughout the rest of the story. Her knowledge of navigation and weather is no longer used only to guide the ship in the right direction. That knowledge turns into weapons capable of defeating a high-ranking Baroque Works agent. For Emily Rudd, this fight could be one of the most important moments in Nami's entire live-action story. The battle needs to keep the Climattack's early comedic and faulty features, while also not making Nami look incompetent or weak. We need to feel the fear, pain, anger, and determination she experiences while trying to figure out how to use her weapon. If Netflix handles this development correctly, Miss Doublefinger will not only give Nami her first major solo victory, She will also force Nami to discover a fighting style of her own. These battles will be one of the main reasons the Straw Hats leave Alabasta much stronger than they were when they entered it. So, which fight do you want to see the most in live action? Sanji and Bon Clay, Zoro and Mr. One, or Nami and Miss Doublefinger? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content. See you in the next video.